do your best, as they say. Hello, welcome everybody to the shortest banjo podcast ever. This is the last episode, and we're very excited about it. We're here with Dan French. Dan, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
I'm good. We're so glad that you're here. You have a picture.
That's my banjo.
All right. Okay. All right. You have escaped that. Well done, asshole. Let me tell people what we're doing here. So we have talked with some nationally touring comedians, people who have been on TV, and they've told us the impacts of the pandemic and COVID here on the shortest banjo podcast ever, the COVID sessions. And we've learned a lot, but it's still a lot of questions right there. Some stand-ups have done well right through it. They've kept going and working online and making some revenue and stuff. But others have really suffered. So it raises a lot of questions. You know, why should those people suffer? I don't know. Maybe we should look at their acts to find the answer. I'm not sure, but it could be other things. But again, to really dig deep into these issues, and again, it was important that we had someone on that really thinks they know something, and they can give us some answers to these. And so that's why.
Is that some anti-expert bias in you? Did I detect some anti-expert bias?
I don't understand what that means.
Like you down on experts? That sounds like some Tea Party to me.
I knew what that means. See, me denying I didn't know what that meant was saying that I got it, because I know that you think you're an expert. See, you just asked that question into a mirror. Let me get to this. So instead of having questions from real questions from imaginary people, as we had for the comics, here today, since we have someone with this expertise, there were questions that weren't asked or answered of the comics, and so I have some more here. So with Dan French today, it is real questions from imaginary comics Palooza today. Dan, are you ready?
Yeah. Do I give imaginary answers?
The first question is my Dan, I am positive you're going to get with the flow of this here in just a minute. See, now Dan has sat, let me tell you, he has sat more hours with his back to the back wall of a comedy club taking notes on the absurdity of comedians' efforts. How's that?
Absurdity of comedians' efforts. Sure.
Well, sometimes.
I have a big category in my computer of absurd efforts from comedians.
Because you're organized and you log it, but you write it on a little piece of paper and then you come back out. So you've done a lot of that at open mics as well too, haven't you?
I take a lot of notes because I'm writing comedy. I like writing comedy in comedy environments
in general. Okay, but you get to understand the people that are trying to get.
I've watched a lot of comedians.
Okay. So you're
35 years of watching comedians.
That is my point. You have an expertise. You have an expertise. So see, I don't have an expertise bias, and you'd have known that if you'd had your mirror up. Here's the first real question from an imaginary comedian. My mother has stopped washing. This is since the pandemic has occurred. My mother has stopped washing my clothes because she says I'm a 28-year-old and I'm old enough and capable of washing them myself. What should I do?
Well, you're a comedian, so you've got 3 T-shirts and maybe 2 pairs of blue jeans, and that's all you ever wear on stage anyway.
Yeah, but when they stink.
Just buy more cheap T-shirts.
Oh.
3 days a week. What? You're performing like 3 days a week. And then throw the dirty ones outside onto the back porch, and hopefully it'll rain every couple of weeks. Get rid of most of the stink.
You know,
you no longer need your mom.
That
woman.
Where else is this fella going to find a basement to live in? You know, If it's
I
not
don't
as
know if you're
much,
sneaky enough and quiet. If you live quiet, you can live in almost any basement.
that's right. Like
Is that
because
for
you know,
is that for comedians that work clean?
work clean.
Work clean for
I
your
didn't get it.
like your mom doing your you got to be you got to
Oh, see,
there you go.
no, nobody works clean at open mics.
No, what's the point? Why do you you don't work that hard? Working
You,
clean is
you,
working hard.
the dream of becoming a comedian for all these people is, oh boy, I can go say dirty words I can't say in my workplace or at home up on stage. And
Yeah,
I think it's a telling sign.
I I define it as, hey, I can expose the world to my mediocre thoughts
Yes. Yes. Those
that
are
I
my
haven't
favorite.
worked to develop into script.
Yeah, those are my favorite. The 19-year-old gets up and talks about how he's become an alcoholic and he's in AA and he's going through treatment because of. I was at the comic strip New York one year, and they're having a Gladys show. Hey Gladys, and three little barely prepubescent, fellers were up there, and they were obviously buddies, and they had hooked up for the decision to go into AA and therapy. So they had all
Nice.
kinds of life experience to talk about.
Yeah, you got to work through a lot. You've
Oh
been
boy, it was
sentient since you were 12.
it was. Oh, I felt for him. It was just. Here's one. Now you can go straight at this because you also write jokes for people sometimes, and they pay you. I know you've done that because
I've done that many a time.
All right, so here's one that you can probably answer.
All right.
No, and this is from Open Mic Mike.
That's all he does is open mics.
Yeah, that's his hashtag. There's his MO. No one laughs at my jokes. What should I do?
Are you acting like that's a problem at open mics? That's the norm at open mics, isn't it?
This is why you get so much work. You're so encouraging.
Well,
supportive.
if you're good, I'm a fan.
Right. Oh, that's right. I meant that. Yeah, Open Mic Mike has been doing them for 11 years.
11 years and no
Open mic.
laughs.
Never been.
But
yeah,
he's just
never been
searching. He's just searching to find his voice.
That could be. Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
my favorite thought that everybody has. I just need to go up on stage a lot, and someday I'll get a magic, thought in my head, and it's going to be my voice, and then everybody's going to love me.
Come to you, right?
Of course, everybody before they had to suffer without your voice, but there's also like the weird thing, this, like in open mics, you'll find these freaky, crazy brains that they have no skills, no development, no experience, but man, I just sit there and listen to them all day long.
And you go, my Lord, they're because they're weaving like you had never woven before.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where you came from, but man.
Well, a lot of that we get here in Kentucky is just because of, inbreeding, and then it comes out in their behavior.
Like when you get those neurons all tangled across DNA strands.
Yeah.
Like you have a thought, it just sort of bends down a blind alley.
Man, you can
gully,
become the Mozart of dick jokes if you've got that ability.
It controls you.
If you were to play, if you were to take on an animal persona, to do an act or a skit, as I like to call them, what would that animal persona be?
Like a funny animal?
Wait, I'm sorry. If you were to take on a persona of a who, what would this is a legitimate, serious character development type of question that I thought you would identify immediately as an expert in this kind of thing. That I ask you, I think it's reasonable. What would it, if you took on an animal persona, what would it be?
I think I would be the last.
Considering that all the hair on that side of the screen has moved over here now, and so you have that restriction. That's
really what you've been doing. Like you have this kind of like this spell. It's sucking off other people's hair onto your head. That's how you got all this. Like you weren't like this before.
No, I wasn't. That and chemotherapy.
Some kind of weird swami. I would be the last black rhino, like the last male black rhino left
See, you
on
look
Earth.
like a rhino immediately. See, this is my
See?
theory. The first thing you look like a lot like a rhino. If they're so,
Yeah. I
are
can go
rhinos
with that.
funny? What would a rhino? How would you make a rhino funny?
Just that he's the last one. Like there's no.
Oh, he's the
there's no-
last rhino. Oh, hell yeah.
the last black rhino left, and they called him a black rhino, but he's not black. Like, have you seen that
they're
rhino?
not.
He's gray.
It's gray.
It's like the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, it's all the rage to be black.
I guess black rhinos matter, man.
Well, they do. They do.
And so
that
he
would
would
be weird.
yeah,
He would.
he's got no like he's on Tinder and there's nothing, just a
He
bunch of
couldn't
raccoons.
get no
and
black rhino nookie at all. Nothing would be there.
he's thinking about switching over to hippos, but you know, the horn is that's the erotic part, turns out. Like, don't even female rhinos have horns?
The one I dated did.
Just go do it in Kentucky. They're about 30 years behind.
Well, that's an idea we could give him. But
There are plenty of places that don't want progressive comedy. Just go back in there and just, go and talk about, how this new Civil Rights Act, that thing, that ain't going through. And, the Koreans, we need to get to war with the Koreans. I guess that's still going on. Talk about a lot of Kraut jokes, a lot of Panzer jokes. Just don't change, man.
I take umbrance and offense at your characterization of Kentucky. Who do you think you are, the guy that wrote Hillbilly Elegy? Because you think we're no, well, you know what we are. You just don't like.
I'm not imagining anything. I grew up there.
All right. Well, it takes a certain lens.
You do not have a representative experience of Kentucky.
I do
Your
too.
family was educated. Your old man was cool. He was a professor.
There's a lot of us here.
You do not have my experience of Kentucky, son.
Well, for 3 months I lived in a trailer, but it was when I was in college.
Yeah, you're already educated and up and going. I
didn't graduate though. I went
trailer?
from college. I went to EKU, Eastern Kentucky University down there. I went so long they offered me tenure, so I quit. I couldn't get up for the.
I should have gone to Western. I wanted to go to Western because they had a good, like a really hot girl on top of on front of their brochure.
Yeah.
But my stupid guidance counselor was like, no, don't go there. It turns out they have a great TV program. I'd have been just fine at Western Kentucky.
I never understood why anybody went anywhere other than Moorhead. If you were of any gender.
Gender. It's the best advertisement ever.
Absolutely.
Didn't Phil Simms go there?
He did.
Yeah.
He could suck a dick. That's what I heard.
Hey, you got to get to the NFL somehow.
I have another question for you.
Yeah, are these pandemic related? We haven't really talked about pandemic.
These
comedy.
are people suffering. These are comedians
suffering anywhere. You haven't asked me a pandemic question yet.
The focus of. Hang with me, Dan.
Suffering. They just have to suffer.
I'm going to start next time. I'm scheduling a longer preparation call with you.
Are you? Why's that? Wouldn't go any difference.
Here, this is a real question from an imaginary comedian that's suffering from the pandemic.
Okay.
Because of the pandemic.
The pandemic
And things being shut down from the pandemic.
Yes, lots of things.
So this question is about the pandemic.
Yep.
Okay, and it's a comedian that's sitting at home still trying to practice, I presume, from the question, by himself. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the question. All right, which hand should I cradle the microphone in?
The cradling of the microphone. I'd say both.
And there's a
You
follow-up,
know,
but
if you're gonna cradle it,
like a baby, you mean?
both.
That could be
That would be,
somebody's going
you
to
know,
pick up on that tip, see that, and they're going to make that their MO. Kids are going to be screaming, "Get over here, the
what he
guy
should
that
do.
cradles the microphones on Saturday Night
That's right.
Live tonight."
What he should do is like drill a hole in the top of like a baby doll's head and put the microphone down in there and just hold the baby the whole time, just talking to that.
That's a great idea. And just talking top of yeah, drill it in 1 foot down the leg. So you're just holding the leg, the baby's upside down.
That'd be good too.
That'd be good too. I think he seriously wants to know, should he use his left or right hand?
You know, my favorite way people to hold the microphone, it cracks me up, is when they use their fingers, when they hold it like the tip of their fingers.
Like a lounge singer.
Like it always looks like that is so weird. That's like how Mike Pence would hold a microphone or something. It's
That's
like
how he'd
so
masturbate.
weird.
That's how he'd masturbate.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this.
He'd still be on the fingers. Where was the first wave in an arena done, and who dropped the first mic on stage? These are big questions.
I don't know, but I got fired off a week of emceeing once because I told a guy to quit dropping the fucking mic because he wasn't that funny. The headliner, God, what was his name? He was on TV for a while. I can't remember his name, but he would do his act. It was sucked. He would get no response, and then he would just drop the mic and walk off. And I'd have to walk up as the MC and pick it up.
Yeah.
And back in I guess I was offended by that in those days. And I just picked it up and I'd be like, man, you know, if you're going to drop the mic, you need to have a better set. And he requested that I be taken off.
Well, it's, black rhinos need to get some maturity before they can, calm down. So my point is, because we were talking about education and what can make this country better, is if we did have more of the basic curriculum of starting early in school, of training minds to understand the how humor works and how they can can be a benefit to their life and the physiological impacts and all that kind of stuff. And I think we'd have a more chill, damn society if people could get it. If they get one idea, if they could understand that sarcasm is not always attacking people, that it's getting at things in a different way. We could teach that, I think.
I think we could, Kirk.
It'll never happen.
We'll do it.
It'll be labeled indoctrination by the right. So we can't do it.
Well, that's fine. Then we'll just make, jokes about them. Like, maybe like instead of building blocks, like little letter blocks, maybe it's like, jokes like jibes and here's how to make fun of your teacher and get away with it.
There you go.
Stuff.
Instead of just the ABC and the giraffe and shit on the blocks.
Yeah, it's like,
and then they make a game out of it and roll. It'd be phrases like, math what, and or different things they could put together, like those magnets you get on your refrigerator to make poems. And
I think that would work. I'll tell you this: like if the negotiations over the stimulus package right now would have gone much further if they'd all had to show up in red noses.
See, all that needs to permeate society more, and it does in other developed nations. They got a much better sense of humor than we do. I don't know though. We elected Donald Trump. That's a pretty good sense of humor right there when you think about it, just as a collective.
Well, I said back before that election, I'm like, there's a lot of people who just want to reach over and grab the steering wheel and go,
well, absolutely.
They don't care who it is.
Exciting.
They just want to. I don't like this highway.
Yeah.
So, they found one.
But see, a lot of people wouldn't think that was funny what you just said because they weren't taught humor and sarcasm in early age. See, that's my point.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were taught it by your dad. Like it was spoken in your family, right?
Correct. Yeah. It was the language of the family, right? And actually, when I think back, that's interesting. It had been for a few generations because they're just nuts,
Yeah, my family spoke irony, but other kids don't. Like my kids are fluent in irony because, you never say what you mean. You
Yeah.
say it ironically, so it's infused with 2 or 3 meanings,
Right.
and it's a more interesting way of communicating. But other kids, like I remember doing a show at my son's kindergarten class where I'd bring puppets up and stuff, and like little stuffed animals and make them talk. And the first one was this dog. I would sit on my knee, and he would start the show by saying, "Well, I want to welcome all you cats to the show. It's nice to talk to a bunch of cats today." And they'd yell, "We're not cats." And the dog would say, "Well, that's exactly what a cat would say." So the dog was doing crowd work with the kindergartners.
And
And
they
I
get
picked
it.
this one kid, and I'm like, "Hey, how's your cat day going?" And the kid was like, "I'm not a cat." And he got really pissed off. And the dog was like, "Take it easy, cat." And he started to cry
Dan.
because he didn't understand irony. He
Oh,
didn't understand that could actually mean something other than, "Hey, I think you're a cat." So
they
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, a lot of people don't grow up with that stuff.
they didn't invite you back, did they?
I came back constantly. I
I
was a rock
thought
star up there.
at first I thought you meant the dog was crying, but it was the little boy.
It was the little boy, the little
That's a
wimp.
better story, more
He
tragic.
was You want to hear a dictionary joke I wrote?
Yes.
Uh, it was a Twitter joke. May not work saying it out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway. Here's something interesting. The relationship between Merriam and
Yeah.
Webster is ill-defined.
See, that's clever. It's using their content right back on them.
Literally, nobody knows who Merriam and Webster are, but by God, that's their dictionary.
That's their dictionary. See, that's an example of humor right there.
That would be irony. Zoomcast.
Yeah, but it's actually called the shortest banjo podcast ever, the COVID sessions.
Gotcha. I like it.
All right, here's the last question, real question from an imaginary comedian. After the pandemic ends, see how this is a pandemic joke or question. After the pandemic ends and shows start again, should I go back to stand-up comedy, and why not?
Isn't that a question and an answer?
You just answer whichever part you want to.
Should you go back to stand-up comedy? No.
No,
There's
why
too
not?
many-
Okay.
There were too many stand-up comics before the pandemic. My theory, the virus came along to weed out all the bad comedians.
Is it fair? Is that moral? Is it ethical? Or does
I just think it's, the world, what is it, Gaia, the conscious world, the conscious planet, has heard too many bad dick jokes at open mics. It's like, you know what? Y'all going to get virused.
Yeah.
Hit us with a virus.
Yeah.
And I bet you if you go and look, the people that are dying of the virus are less funny than the people who are not dying from the virus.
I bet we could measure that. Boy, that is stunning to think about, and maybe does that make bad comedians the chosen ones, where they've all been lifted from the earth?
They're the marked ones. They have the mark of the beast.
Got it. They had the open mic list hammered to their door, to the
though it's just like the damn, it's just
and
like
they weren't on it.
It's just like politics. Like there got to be enough crazy right wingers and Tea Partians, and they took over, a lot of politics.
Yeah.
Comedy is the same way. You have enough bad comedians doing comedy. They just took it over.
Yeah.
What, 90%? Maybe, okay, 70% of the people doing stand-up are horrible.
That's
20% are bad, and 8% are good, and 2% are amazing.
You're right.
I only want to. Why do we need to hear other than the top 10%? Maybe even just the top 2%.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's a wonderful
Banjo man.
Because it's a wonderful thing to see, and it's a collective of people all trying to communicate in a way that they think might make a difference, might feed their ego, might do something. Who knows? But it's a human damn experience.
It is. That's all beautiful. I totally agree.
I know you agree with this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to phrase it as taking issue with you, but yes, I think it's done a lot for me having to suffer through horrible acts in teaching
Really?
me, yes, in teaching me patience and humility, and you know, sit
I
there
could see
pious,
that. I could.
sit there pious and watch some guy or some comedian just sweat bullets to a quiet room and get a little bit of piety going about that, and your ass is up next, you know, and you decide to try some new jokes, you know, and you go, oh well, you know, okay, and you go buy them a drink, you know. Well, should there be a better distillation process to get to those people? Of course, we need the farming ground. Well, I tell you, it ain't never going to get solved until the money gets fixed, and until we start valuing the arts at lower levels, you know.
Well, I think that's going to happen too. The second thing the pandemic is doing is that it's taking out all the people who don't value the arts.
That's kind of true, ain't it?
That's the next
That's,
mutation of the virus.
well,
It's
you
going
know,
to
what's
take
gonna,
out all the problem people.
you know, it'll be, you know, what'll hurt those country music. We'll just get emaciated then. Their
Yeah.
audience they'll lose them. And
There may be nobody left. Maybe the ghost of Merle Haggard.
what will the My Pillow guy do? He can't sell shit then. You know what's happened, don't you? Is he's putting virus in the pillows, and that's
I
why
like it.
that's the main spread.
And they're only sending them to blue states. It's like how they got rid of the Native Americans. It worked with the Native Americans. Now they're going to use it on the blue state liberal Democrats.
That's what I'm saying.
Trump's going to start handing out blankets at his rally.
Liberal Democrats don't buy My Pillow pillows. That's just, they only advertise on Fox.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is in some warped plan, the My Pillow guy who supports Trump is killing off really they just advertise on Fox. That's where it is. They're killing off the Fox viewers because they want to shift the focus to Newsmax.
Yeah, I hope they do, man. Like that. That'll kill it all. Take it to a specialty niche like that, and that'll kill it all. The only reason Fox works is because people think it's real.
Yeah,
you know, like it's a real network.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any more prepared questions, but I will say I've always appreciated your appreciation of comedy and rhetoric and what it does to contribute to our society. And I appreciate you being on this episode of the shortest banjo podcast ever.
Can you play a menacing banjo? Is there a menacing song, like an ominous?
That's like a Z12. There you go.
There's no way to play the banjo ominously. Like you can't use it in a horror film.
That's the finishing.